Just to get a sense from you in terms of the mechanics, the market dynamics of what we're seeing, because as I mentioned, the United States, the EU partners have decided on a historic agreement. We're talking about 15 billion cubic meters of natural gas, liquefied natural gas, LNG, to Europe in order to wean them from Russian gas. Can you just give us a sense, sir, of how much of that number is going to be made up of supplies from Qatar?
First, I'd like to thank the organizers for such a great conference, and we've heard some great discussions here, and a pleasure to be with such a distinguished panel and yourself after such a long time of being online, most of us, I guess. I think, 15 billion cubic feet a day is quite a large number, and I think to actually accomplish that, you need many players around the world. Qatar is one of the players, one of the major suppliers of LNG to the world, and definitely we have been planning to actually supply Europe for some time. We bought capacity in Zeebrugge terminal, in Montois in France, Isle of Grain in the UK. We own a terminal or partially own a terminal in Italy, in Rovigo. We own a terminal in the UK, South Hook, with our colleagues Total. So we've been working on bringing more volume into Europe, whether it's the terminal capacity, in addition to announcing that we're going to go from 77 million tons to 126 million tons from Qatar, in addition to a project that we're working on from the US, which will bring 60 million tons, destined really for Europe, because that's the destination that we intended it for, that will be online by 2024-25. So a lot of volume will be coming, but 15 billion needs many more players to be part of that.
Yeah. When I spoke with your foreign minister just a few moments ago, I asked him about this specifically, and he essentially said, we have long-term contracts and we have commitments to be a seller of energy and a producer of energy that is consistent to those needs of our customers. But when you think about this a bit more broadly, do you believe that the state of emergency that we see today in Europe is such that you could potentially attempt to move those contracts or change them?
You see, there are two things. One was your question about the commitment of weaning down or coming off some of the supplies and bringing a new 15 billion cubic feet a day. So that's a fresh production or fresh volume, if you will, coming into the US. So my answer was really tuned towards that. If your question now, I believe you said that you're talking about today, what can Qatar do? So as far as today is concerned, the majority of our volume is already destined to certain markets, including Europe, where it's long-term, non-divertible volume, like in Italy and some other destinations. But the majority is going, probably 85% is going to Asia. The ones that are actually, the volumes that are going to to Europe, like most of the sellers to Europe, are volumes that go to hub-based pricing, and these are divertible volumes. So what we've committed as Qatar is that during this situation with Ukraine, we're not going to divert away from Europe, although we have the contractual right to do that. So that volume is quite small in comparison to the needs of the 15. And I think even the Europeans and the discussion with the Americans on what they said they would do, it would take probably another 7 years to achieve that, or 5 to 7 years, I think is what they talked about. It won't be something that's immediate. But immediately, I don't think we can help, and nobody can replace. I've said this very clearly. The volume that we're talking about, 30 to 40% of gas coming from Russia to Europe, is not something that can be replaced overnight. It needs time. But it also needs the international companies such as Total and Shell and Exxon and Equinor to have their governments or the European governments be a promoter of oil and gas companies investing, not demonizing oil and gas companies, as has been the case the last few years.